Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone.
We back.
I'm
Hello.
Kyle.
I'm Mike or Hall, either one you want to go by.
And I'm Black Mike.
And that is Mike Reed. Thank you so much for returning to the Burgundy Zone. We have a great show lined up for you guys. A lot has actually happened over the past week, and the one thing I wanted to get into today specifically was predominantly Redskins was retention of players and the possibility of other players coming here. So we're going to break down for you the Scherff, the Flowers coming back, the Trent Williams situation. Should the Redskins take Tua? We're going to go through all of this for you guys today. Thank you so much for tuning back in. Again, thank you. Let's start this off with the Brandon Scherff and Flowers speculation right now. Reed, I want to go with you first. On March 16th, Brandon Scherff and Eric Flowers are both going to be unrestricted free agents and allowed to talk to teams. It's been widely reported that they're interested in both bringing them back. Do you think the Redskins are more of a likelihood that they're going to retain Brandon Scherff on the tag, or do you think they're going to offer him an extension?
Well, I think that right now that they're working on an extension, but I do think that come free agency time, they're going to end up tagging him probably and then work out some kinks and sign him to a long-term deal. I do think that the likelihood is high that they bring both of them back, just after listening to what Rivera has been saying about how they want to bring them both back, and that's two of their biggest priorities this offseason, and that those are two guys that they want to build around, especially Scherff. So, yeah, I think Scherff will start off on the tag, and then they'll work out a long extension for him.
Yeah, Hall, what do you think?
I 100% agree with Reed, whatever Reed just said. Just listening to Rivera's comments, he's always said that one of our main priorities offseason is retaining both guards. Hopefully they can get a long-term deal done with Scherff. He's already come out and said that he wants to be here. He doesn't want to play year to year on a contract. He'd rather get something done long-term. I know the CBA is kind of like holding things back, unfortunately, because the salary cap's going to bump up next year, which will mean more money for him long-term. But hopefully he'll just come to a long-term deal, and hopefully we can get Eric Flowers on a maybe 2 to 3 year deal. Shore up the offensive line.
Yeah, and I think it'd be really smart for the Redskins to retain Flowers right now because the tape is out. Last year, Flowers did a phenomenal job at that left guard spot. It's what a lot of people have been calling for. And if they wait, he's going to get money. Now, one thing, I do think Scherff, a lot of people have speculated, why would Scherff take an extension right now? Why wouldn't he go on the tag? And like you said, in the expanding cap next year, that's when he can make a whole bunch of money. Why would he take it? Unless Scherff is not your average dude. This guy just wants a home. He wants to work hard. He's loyal, and he's willing to take a deal now to make sure that there is no drama, which I would absolutely love. And if that's what Scherff is all about, then throw him the bank. That is the guy you want to bring in long term. And along with Flowers, I think you're absolutely right, Mike. My father-in-law almost wanted to take us out back and beat us behind the woodshed last week when we talked about the number one avenue for Rivera to go after, and none of us said offensive line. This is where the meat and the potatoes are. This is where Ron Rivera was talking about. We're strengthening your strengths. The offensive line and defensive line are where the strengths are for the Redskins. Let's build that up. And with you guys, I'm right there with you. I do think they do retain both of them long term, meaning multiple years. I don't think they're going to let Scherff sniff free agency.
No, because he'd be far and away the top-rated guard on the market, highest offensive lineman, honestly, on the market. So he would get a huge deal somewhere. Some people would offer the farm for him, especially after seeing what people like Zeitler got and stuff in years past. So he would be a huge commodity on the offensive line.
Yeah, he reminds me a lot of a Dunbar's situation. We're kind of new at the position where he's not going to command, the over 10 mil per year kind of salary, but at the same, he can give you the starter reps and actually perform his money that he's getting paid. And so I feel like for a lot of teams, Eric Flowers would be a number one go-to guard. Obviously, he's not the best in the NFL, but at his salary cap number, it just makes so much sense.
He's still. Oh, oops. Go ahead, Hall.
Go ahead. You can go ahead.
Oh, oops. I mean, Flowers is still gleaming with potential. I mean, there was a reason that he was a first-round pick in that draft that Scherff came out. I mean, he has all the talent. He just couldn't put it together. So he moved inside, and now it allowed him to not worry so much about his speed and his foot quickness and his lateral movement. So when he was inside at guard, I don't know why that move hadn't been made earlier. in his career. He's a perfect mauler for the guard position.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember that draft 3 years ago when the Giants took him at 10. I remember sitting there saying, "Oh my goodness, they just overdrafted that kid. They are going to be screwed."
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely kudos to Bill Callahan. I know a lot of people had like up and down opinions on him over his tenure.
I loved him.
Yeah, over his tenure. But one of the great things he did was shift him inside and pretty much save his career because he'll probably be an XFL player next year.
Remember everybody's making fun of us for signing Eric Flowers, and they're like, really, if Trent doesn't come back, that's who you're going to have? And then they're like, no, we're going to kick him inside. We got another plan. That ended up working out.
Have us. That's what we're here for, to calm you down and tell you, don't believe the fake news. The fake news. But staying on the offensive line there, Mike, I want to ask you, or Reed, I want to ask you, where you think this Trent Williams situation, how is it going to shape out? Do you think the Redskins are going to be able to trade him for good enough compensation, or do you think the Redskins are going to retain him and not give him a long-term deal?
No, I think that him and his agent being able to seek out their own team, being able to seek out a trade themselves and go to teams and be like, hey, look, this is what we want. This is the contract that we want, and going to the teams is going to really benefit this situation. There's apparently a good amount of interest from a lot of the teams that you would expect, like the Browns, the Cardinals, apparently, even though they just signed Humphrey. But if they could get Trent, that could kind of shore up that O-line, allow him to look wide receiver in the draft. The Jets are another team. There's a lot of teams that are in on Trent. And I do think that we will get semi-fair compensation. JP Finley seems sure that we're going to be getting a second-round pick for him. I would hope so. That would be, obviously, you want as much as he's worth. Everybody wants a first-rounder. That's probably not going to happen. That would be amazing. I would be ecstatic for a second-round pick. And I think that might be unlikely with the way that we handled the situation. So who knows, but I don't think Trent will be here next year. And I think that we will get decent compensation for him. I'm expecting a second or a third at least.
Yeah. And what do you think, Hall?
No, 100% agree. Obviously, if we could keep him for not $20 million a year, we would do that.
Right.
But, I mean, coming off of a year of rest, I do think he's going to be back to top 2, maybe even number 1 tackle in the league.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just think that a lot of teams are going to give us a second-round pick for him. Why draft a left tackle, which could be hit or miss? You never know. When you know you're getting a sure pro, all-pro veteran in Trent Williams, who probably has about 2 to 4 years left in his career. So why not show up your line for 2-3 years and then go from there?
Right.
I'm really weirded out with this situation because at this point, I don't know if Trent leaves. Because why would a team mortgage up a second-round pick just to bring in Trent Williams for a couple years at 32 years old when you can have a tackle-heavy draft here, keep your second-rounder, and be able to get a tackle that is serviceable at any point in the draft?
I'll tell you why, though.
I got you, but my point
Trent's
right now
a sure
is
thing.
But my point right now is it doesn't scream making sense to me. Now, the thing that makes most sense to me is a player-for-player trade. And looking at teams like the Minnesota Vikings, who haven't been able to re-sign Xavier Rhodes, haven't been able to sign Trey Waynes, they have a whole bunch of cap money sitting in that wide receiver position. And I'm not sure if you guys saw, Dwayne Haskins was out the other day on Instagram talking about Stephon Diggs coming to D.C. again. Yeah. And they have a new investment in Kirk Cousins up there in Minnesota that they have to protect. And I would be more than inclined to take Stephon Diggs for Trent right away.
Yeah, oh yeah. I think anybody would. I mean, offensive line's always been a weakness for the Vikings. There's all sorts of rumors about Stephon Diggs. I'm not sure if that ends up getting it done just because, I mean, in terms of value, I mean, obviously left tackle is a more valuable position, but Stephon Diggs is younger and he does play the sexier position of wide receiver, but they definitely need a left tackle. But with people knowing that Trent is probably more than likely not going to be here next year, and they might force our hand to release him. I don't know if they do that to get it done, but who knows? Maybe the market's huge for Trent. Maybe teams are offering all sorts of stuff. But to go back to what you said before, the reason why you would trade a second rounder for Trent Williams is because you see all the time in the draft, all these tackles that have been coming out haven't panned out, especially as of late. The college players that are being trained to tackle aren't complete players like Trent Williams was. That draft class was really one of the last draft class of pure left tackles with him and Russell Okung. And Trent's a sure thing, and you get a guaranteed blindside protector for 2 to 4 years. I mean, that's huge as opposed to a guy who might not pan out.
Yeah, but the thing is for me about this whole situation, it's so weird, is the Redskins giving Trent Williams and his agent the ability to go out and talk to teams. That is where the discrepancy is for me because look, Trent Williams can go out and talk to a team and they can tell him, yeah, Trent, we'll give you $21 million per year. But then what are they going to? Are the Redskins going to accept whatever that other team is offering? So it kind of seems ass backwards to me, unless, and this is a huge unless, the Redskins already have multiple offers on the table. And they said, Trent, go talk to those teams, see if you'd want to sign with any of those, and let us know, and we'll decide from there.
Or they're saying, you asking for that much, you and your agent go talk to some of these other teams and see what they're willing to pay you, then get back to us. And maybe none of those teams want to pay him that much. And then he comes back here and he's like, all right.
That's exactly where I was going to go with it. I feel like the Redskins already put feelers out there. Hey, who wants Trent, blah, 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 blah. But what they got back was maybe not what they actually really wanted compensation-wise. So they said, hey, Trent, oh, you want this much money? Yeah, we're good on that. You and your agent go see what's out there because we've already kind of scraped the surface on it, and we're not going to get $20 million anywhere. So we'll see.
Right. So then, yeah.
That's where I kind of am. That's where I kind of almost see the Trent playing for the Redskins this year. Because the only way that this is going to shape out is if Trent lowers his cap number. If he lowers what he wants, then then he's going to be able to play. And with the Redskins, I could see Ron Rivera sitting there saying, look, dude, we went out and reached out to teams. Not only do you have a high cap number, they're not going to give us something high in return, and that's what we're expecting. So either one of two things here. Either you go sit down on your couch again for another year, or you come play for the Redskins. And that's how I kind of see this thing shaping out, in my opinion.
Yeah, also, I know Trent's probably not made up this kind of way and this type of guy, but you don't really want a disgruntled left tackle protecting your blind side for your quarterback that doesn't really want to be here.
Right.
He might take a couple plays off, leads to more injuries, and next thing you know, we're right back where we started with no quarterback. And, so...
that's a good point.
And who's to say he's not that kind of guy? I mean, he did set out the entire year, and then when he came back, he claimed his helmet. His helmet wouldn't fit right. His helmet was bothering him. So I mean, who's to say he's not that kind of player?
See, the funny thing is, I talked to Hall about this about a year ago, and I said, like, what if like my conspiracy theory mind running wild in my imagination? I was thinking, like, what if Trent really is, like, self-conscious about his scalp? Like, that is why he's not coming out and talking, because publicly he doesn't want people to see him with that on his head. With a lot of people that are wealthy and well-off, they want to they want to look the best, dress the best, they want to be viewed in the best light, and a lot of times that kind of issue can be a big issue for them. And so when I saw Trent's workout videos last week, I noticed in every single video he's wearing a hat. He's covering his head, and so to me it almost gave more credence to what I was thinking.
And if you look back at his Instagram posts, like going back to last year, it was always like him like in a far, far away distance in the picture, or like it never really showed like his head, like you were saying. So maybe you're right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that could definitely be a possibility. And the helmet thing, I mean, he did have a serious situation on his head, so I mean that could be true. At the same time, it also kind of seemed like he was just being like, guys, you guys know I'm not playing, so fuck it. Like helmet doesn't fit right.
One last middle finger to Bruce Allen.
Right. But the thing is to me, in the age of like all these memes, the crying Jordan meme and all this, can you imagine if Trent walked out into public with like a knot in the size of his head, just walk around? People would go.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Every time Trent walked into the club, dude, they'd be like, "Oh, look at the thing." Hey Trent, you got a good idea? That's messed up. That's not funny to say. But sticking with the Redskins here in conspiracy theories, Mike Hall, I want to go to you first. Albert Breer put out a report today that's saying a bunch of the Redskins staff is going to be at Tua's pro day, giving more validation that the Redskins are actually open to taking a quarterback with the number 2 spot, something that's been widely discussed and widely talked about. I want to pick your brain. Do you think that this gives more credence to that?
I would say if it was on like a scale of 1 to 10, I would probably say leading up to this, before this report, I was at like a 3 or a 4 as far as like them drafting Tua. But with this report coming out and like them saying there's going to be scouts and multiple Redskins at the workout, I'll boost up to like a 5. I still think it's all smoke and mirrors. They want to get a huge haul back for Tua, if possible. And, I just think that they're set on Haskins for at least one more year, upcoming year. They're going to draft Chase Young and try to build around the defense. And if the quarterback doesn't pan out, get a quarterback next year and go from there.
Reed, are you putting any credence?
No, not really. I mean, I think that this entire thing is like Hall said. This is just all a ploy. This is, first of all, you got to do your due diligence on every player. They interview Joe Burrow, even though they know that he's not going to be available at number 2, just to interview him, because you do that to every player. I mean, that's what every team has always done. Teams, even players that you don't think you're going to draft, you still want to do your homework on them just to be sure. And they're putting all this out, light a fire under Dwayne, one, which has seemed to have been working, and 2, to make teams think that they're 100% serious about taking Tua, even though the consensus seems to be kind of around the league after reading articles from scouts and GMs and stuff that there's no seriousness in the Redskins' infatuation with Tua. They're just doing this to get trade offers, and they just want to. I mean, they want to see what they can get, and they're just doing their due diligence. But I still think that Chase Young is going to be the second pick.
Now, I'll play devil's advocate here, and I'll say, look, I do put credence into it because, look, you did your due diligence. You interviewed Tua. You went and spoke with him. It's been widely known, but you don't need to send the entire staff to the pro day to check him out. Now, obviously, Jerry Jeudy's going to be there. There's other pros that are going to at the pro day that you can look at. But the fact being is, I think that Ron Rivera and the Redskins staff right now is doing this the correct way. Mm-hmm. Go and look, because the Redskins haven't had. Do you know the Redskins haven't had the number 1 overall pick since 1962? It's been a long time. The Redskins are not in this position very much. And so if I'm sitting here in this position, and there's ability to take a quarterback there, and if I have a question mark in my quarterback position right now, I understand that it doesn't make the most sense. But look at people like the Browns. If they weren't lucky and been able to get Baker Mayfield the year after Carson Wentz, what are we talking about here? I mean, that's why I think there is credence to it, and I think it is something that the Redskins are seriously considering. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to shape out that way. I think the Redskins, I think you and I have talked about it ad nauseum. I think what's going to happen is the Redskins are trading back to number 3. But my fact is, I think the staff being there does give validity to it, and they're still keeping that option open. I don't think it's very much, but I still think it's open.
I think also a lot of teams are very interested to see Tua working out after he's been completely cleared. This is going to be the first time that he's actually working out in front of them. I think everybody, I mean, they're taking everything seriously right now. Everything's on the table, and I think that everybody just kind of wants to see where he's at, wants to see how his movement is, wants to see how he throws the ball in person. He kind of has an awkward delivery anyway. So, I mean, I think that people just really want to see him. And, of course, they're going to be there. Alabama's loaded with pro prospects.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And so I think we're all in consensus that, it's most likely not, but it makes a lot of sense for them to do their due diligence and to investigate.
There was a while last year where nobody thought that the Cardinals would take Kyler Murray, and then all of a sudden those reports started surfacing, and it was 100% true. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, moving on, the next thing I wanted to talk about is a conspiracy theory that's running around there, but Phillip Rivers to D.C. Hall, I want to go to you first. Do you think that, just like with this Tua situation, do you see this as not likely, or is this more likely than Tua coming to D.C.?
I'd probably say Tua would be more likely coming to D.C. over Phillip Rivers, but if I have Tua being a Redskin at 5, I'd probably have Phillip Rivers being a Redskin at like 3. I just think that he's going to be asking for way too much money. We already have way too much money tied up in the quarterback position as it is with Alex Smith's injury. And I just think that Phillip Rivers is going to want to go to a possible contender next year. I've been hearing he's been linked to the Colts a lot, which would be a perfect fit for them. They need to draft another wide receiver to go with T.Y. Hilton, maybe another tight end to go with Jack Doyle, and they'd be right back to the races again. AFC South, I wouldn't say it's wide open, but I mean, the Colts and the Houston Texans are pretty much the same team. They go back and forth every year, splitting divisions wins. So I just think that, I'll give it about 3 or 4 out of 10. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think if Phillip Rivers was going to play this year, which all reports says he is, he's going to want to be a contender. And, I don't think the Redskins are there yet.
Okay. What about you, Reed? Do you think that the Redskins are there? Do you think the Redskins can get Phillip Rivers and be a contender?
Also, one more point. Phillip Rivers' ego is not going to allow him to be a backup quarterback. He's not coming to be a backup to Dwayne Haskins.
Right.
So.
I'm completely right there with you all. I don't think that Phillip Rivers is interested in coming here and playing second fiddle to a young quarterback and kind of showing him the ropes. I think that he wants to go somewhere and play. And you're right. I think he's going to demand too much money. I think it's more realistic that the Redskins go after somebody like a Marcus Mariota or somebody who can just kind of push Haskins a little bit, who's been around the block, who's kind of a veteran, as opposed to a possible future Hall of Famer who's at the tail end of his career. But who knows? Maybe they think that it's worth putting in the money into that position to have him push Haskins to make him better. But I don't see it happening because I think they'd be too worried that he might beat Haskins out.
Yeah, I'm opposite you guys. I think Phillip Rivers is actually more of a likelihood than Tua. Given the fact that if the Redskins are able to ship out Trent Williams, that means they'll have $73 million in cap space this season, this offseason. So it gives a lot of ability for them to go get a quarterback that is familiar with Norv Turner's offense. Look, I know Scott Turner, his son, is the offensive coordinator, but let's be honest here. It's the same offense. That kind of familiarity, and then Phillip Rivers knowing Ron Rivera from the San Diego Chargers days, they're familiar with each other. And this Redskins team is not far off. Given if they have a good defensive strategy and a team kind of game plan built out for the season, I think the Redskins could be a very good team. And getting a kind of quarterback like Phillip Rivers, who, given without a bunch of weapons, his whole career has been made guys out of nobodies. I think he could do really well here. So I think that Phillip Rivers coming here is more likely than Tua. I just don't think it's going to happen for Phillip Rivers because quarterbacks come here to die. I don't think that he'd want to do that. If I was him, I'd want to go to a lower income tax kind of state, somewhere that he could go vacation, not come here to DC just to freeze to death. I just don't think that would be very smart on his part.
Not only that, he's like, everyone say he's borderline Hall of Famer or like a year down the road Hall of Famer once he retires. I just think that last season in Washington, if he actually came here, would leave a lot of like bad taste in people's mouth.
Yeah.
To make him be like, you know what? That's the real Phillip Rivers right there. He's not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
So,
and he
why
already
even risk it?
Exactly.
Right, and he already left bad taste in people's mouth with last year and with the Chargers, so he can't afford that. He wants to go to a team where he can actually help, and you're right. I think a team like the Colts makes the most sense.
All right, so I wanted to pick your guys' brain, kind of a 180 here. The new CBA was agreed upon. So I wanted to kind of, I'm not sure if you know much about it, Reed, but I want to kind of pick your guys' brain because the new CBA now is going to be 2 extra playoff teams, and then now they're going to 17 games in the regular season. I wanted to pick your brain, Reed. Immediate reaction, how do you feel?
I just, immediately, I just get weirded out just with the way that the final season records are going to be. Like, imagine a team finishing 10-7. Yeah. Like, I don't know. It's weird to think about. I don't know. I think that also them keeping one bye week, obviously, with the way that it is, it's just, I don't know. It's weird. It's going to take a little bit to get used to, but obviously as a fan, I love it. I love watching more football. So, I mean, I'm okay with that. I'm sure the players are pissed, but.
Now, yeah, I'm with you. Just looking at it off the top of my head, like at one glance, it's kind of like you said, it's kind of weird. There's going to be 17 games, and
there's going to be no 500 teams.
Yeah, exactly. That's also weird. And then like 7 playoff teams. That's kind of weird. But just from a fan perspective, I'm all for more football, so I'm not mad.
So for the players' standpoint, I can kind of understand why they went this route. The players now get 47% of the revenue from the NFL. That's why they expanded it to the 17-game season. It kind of explains why the lower end of the NFL players did want this deal. The stars didn't, because the money was not going to go to them. The money was going to the lower guys, your Nick Sundbergs, if you will, of the Redskins. Those guys really wanted this new CBA, and I like it, but I still don't think this is the correct way. I think it needs to be 18 weeks. I think it needs to be 17 games, and then there needs to be 2 bye weeks. And if you're going to have Thursday night games, that second bye week better be better either be before or after that Thursday night game. Because the Thursday night game is really throwing a rift in the NFL right now, and they have to come out with a logical kind of explanation or way to fix it, because the product on the field right now on Thursday Night Football sucks, and they have to figure out a better way to get it done.
Right, and that's the Thursday night games have really. We haven't seen a good product on that field for Thursday Night Football for a long time, and it makes sense too. With the shortened weeks, and then teams having to travel across country. Sometimes it's a little bit ridiculous. But the practice squad is going to grow as well, from 10 players to eventually 12, or to 12, then to eventually 14. So that's going to allow more people the opportunity to make money. So I think that's a good thing.
And honestly, I'm not going to sit here and complain about an extra playoff game. I think that's
Neither
better for everyone.
Right.
And honestly, the TV slots, what they had for Wild Card Weekend, it's 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. Yep. So more playoff games, the better. More betting, the better, obviously, for everyone involved. I'm not much of a gambling man myself, but I know Hall is, and he loves to throw money down on that. So look, more money in the pile. That's everyone is happier.
Yep.
I like that they're coming together, and especially the added of the medical marijuana industry into this for the players, because obviously we don't want the last thing anybody wants is players getting caught up on Percocets, Xanax and stuff like that, trying to just be able to be normal in everyday life. So I think this kind of avenue is the correct way for the NFL. And the only person I feel really bad for is Josh Gordon.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Now, I just saw this report came out earlier that they were supposed to be like the final day to vote for the CBA was going to be is it this Thursday or next? This Thursday, upcoming. But I just read that they expanded to Saturday. And I've been also reading and hearing that everyone thought it was going to be like a short thing pass. There's a lot of people saying now that it's like not really a short thing. It's actually going to like be passed by all the players. So we might be looking at a work stoppage come not this season but next season.
Wow.
Yeah.
Coming up with a new CBA and it doesn't even work in a year
Right.
after, that would be a colossal failure for the NFL. And I'll tell you right now, the NFL will absolutely crumble if they keep having these holdouts. The everyday American, the blue-collar American is not going to sit here and just watch two different people, two sides, argue about how much money they get, and they're very wealthy. And I know not your average NFL player is, but you know what I mean. The normal fan is not going to be able to have that discrepancy between the normal player and, like, the star player.
Even like the 53rd man on the roster is more well off than the most average American anyway.
Right.
So
Oh, yeah. Right.
So that's why I kind of see like the NFL has this issue where, and with the XFL coming about and them kind of having that blue collar mentality, I think that the NFL is in a very sticky situation right now, and they better watch themselves because if they do have another work stoppage, I'm not sure if they're ever going to recover.
Yeah, they're already on a short leash with all the stuff. I mean, after, with all the ratings and things like that, after the concussions and then with the whole Kaepernick thing and everything, like that did affect ratings, like, unfortunately for both sides. Like the NFL's really in a dangerous position right now. They cannot afford to miss any time.
No, they cannot. And the next thing I wanted to get into, speak of the overall NFL, Reed, I wanted to first get your reaction. Did you see the new LA Rams logo?
Yes, I did.
By you laughing, that means you definitely looked at it.
It looks like one of those, like, when you create a team in Madden and it's like that's like one of the only options. They had like 8 options back in the day for like the logos you can pick. It was like the Sharks, the Vipers, the Griffins, and then whatever this
it's
Ram slash.
team is the Sharks. So it had to be like
Did you?
Yeah. Any given Sunday and shit.
Yeah, right. And this it's just it. I get what they were trying to do, but like this is worse than like. Remember the Chargers one that came out with like the little lightning bolt on the L that crossed through the A that got canceled? This is way worse than that.
Yeah, it is. I just I think you guys are missing the point here. I think the fact that they gave Stevie Wonder a job is phenomenal.
Yeah, that's.
I think the rest of the NFL needs to fall in line because that's great punting ability right there.
Yeah, well, what it looks like they should replace that swooping Rams thing with Donald Trump's hairline.
You're absolutely right about that, Reed.
The most tremendous team in LA.
But I wanted to bring this back full circle now. Let's bring this back to DC. Bryce Love last week was actually on with the Redskins official podcast talking that he is healthy and he's ready to go. He was drafted last year by the Redskins, sat out all year long with this ACL injury that we all knew that he had. Coming back, how do you, Hall, I'll go to you first. How do you see the running back position shaping out this year? They re-signed AP. Chris Thompson is an unrestricted free agent, going to possibly talk to other teams on March 16th. Then they have Darius Guice sitting there as well, and then Bryce Love being healthy. How do you see it shaping out?
Well, first off, with Bryce Love being healthy, that automatically kind of just pushes Chris Thompson out the door. I love CT. He's been a pretty good player for us when he's healthy. But I think Bryce Love can be Chris Thompson 2.0. I watched this dude in college. His Heisman finalist year, if he would have came out that year, he would have been the second, maybe third running back pick that year. Definitely no later than the second-round pick. But he came back for his senior year, tried to be a good guy, loyal guy, ended up getting injured. And I think it was about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months, J.P. Finley was actually talking about Bryce Love. And he was pretty much saying, like, he's been hearing conflicting reports about, like, does he still love football? Does he want to get back into it? There was a complication with his surgery. And he pretty much was like, he hasn't seen any videos of him like doing running drills, cutting drills to kind of like signify like, hey, I'm on the way back. So for him to come out last week and say, hey, I'm gonna be ready for OTAs. I'm gonna try to play this year, or I will play this year. It's gonna be great for the Redskins. I think it's gonna be AP, the number 1 guy. Darius Geis to be the number 2/1A, and they're gonna slowly work in Bryce Love. Hopefully he'll be on a kick return and punt return as well. So I think they're gonna use him tremendously next year.
And what about you, Reed?
Well, but I think it's good. Obviously, Bryce Love's a super talented player. Like Hall said before his injury, I mean, he was a very legitimate pro prospect after that Heisman runner-up year. He's good. He's talented. He's very similar to Chris Thompson. But this is the way it's going to go. All right, so watch. I guarantee this is how it's going to happen. They're going to try Darius Geis to be the number 1. They're going to let him win the job over AP, but they're going to use them both fairly equally. But they'll start off with Geis. Geis will play maybe 4 games. He'll get hurt total throughout the year. It'll be like 2 games, gets hurt, misses a bunch of time, 2 games, gets hurt, misses the rest of the year. AP will be the only consistent one back there. Bryce Love will play, probably get hurt about 6-7 games into the season, and they'll bring up somebody like Capri Bibbs again, and it'll be Adrian Peterson and Capri Bibbs like it has been for the last 2 years. And it's having, as much as I love Geis and Love, and I want to give them another chance, they're both so injury prone that it's going to be tough. And I don't even really want to say Bryce Love's injury prone because it's been 1 injury, but just knowing our luck, that scares me a little bit. But if they could stay healthy, we know Geis won't. But if Love can stay healthy, I think he can actually do some pretty big things for this Redskins team.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, except I actually don't think the Redskins are done at the running back position.
Neither do I.
Not
Neither do I.
retaining Chris Thompson, it only screams the fact that they don't have consistency at the running back position or dependability. They have to go get somebody that they know is going to be a workhorse, they know can take the football and not get injured. And so I think somebody like a Kenyon Drake, someone's name like that who's been floated around, I think could be a very real possibility, or somebody in the draft. Because one thing I did hear was that we're going to get the Redskins are going to get a compensation pick out of Jamison Crowder this year. So they're going to have possibly up to 10 picks if they get some return for Trent in this year's draft. And I would love to see them go get a running back later rounds to try to just complement and kind of use that Chris Thompson role, because those guys are everywhere. You can go get a very fast, quick pass catcher out of the backfield at any point in the draft. And that's why I would love to see the Redskins go down.
One name to look for would be, I forget his first name, but Kelly out of UCLA. He's going to be a 5th, 6th, 7th round guy. Coming out of Chip Kelly's offense, so he can run the ball, he can catch the ball at the backfield. Kind of a shifty, speedy, small guy. So he's definitely going for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I they have to kind of address the running back position at some point a little bit later in the draft, I think, is when they'll take the flyer. But in those mid-rounds, it really just depends on how your board is stacked with a lot of those guys. Like, they're not going to be drafted necessarily for need, but they're just going to be trying to find depth and gems and players that they think can contribute immediately no matter the position.
Now that we're talking about the draft, I did want to Kyle Smith, the kind of the scouting director there and the draft guru there for the Redskins, had an interview with Larry Michaels last week, and he talked about how he meets with Scott Turner. And this really stuck out to me. And he said, Scott, I'm coming to you and saying, what do you look for in your third down back? What do you look for in your number 1 wide receiver? What do you look for
and he
in
said
your
a
number 3 wide
white
receiver?
jacked guy from Stanford.
Yes, and I absolutely love that aspect of it, because this didn't happen before. It was almost like, yeah, this is the guy that we want, this is what we're taking, because it was Dan and Bruce's show. This is what we're doing, This is what we're taking, where this is actually in-depth and a educated and great draft philosophy to go by, and I am very intrigued the way that it breaks down, because I think Scott Turner has a lot of say into who they're going to draft and who they're going to bring in as that 4th running back.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Now, moving on, the next thing I want to talk about, Dan Snyder was rumored to be looking around the Dulles Airport, a land around there for the new Redskins Stadium. I wanted to pick your guys' brain. Hall, I'll go to you first. Do you like that? Do you think it should be down in D.C.? Do you like near Dulles? What do you think?
I mean, Dulles is better than any other spot they were going to pick in VA, because if they were going to move like deep in the VA, I probably would never go to a game ever again in my life.
Nobody would.
Yeah. So Dulles is kind of like a little bit better area, but obviously, as a Redskins fan, you want to see them back in RFK or maybe like another spot somewhere in Maryland, because like I live in Maryland, so it's closer to me. But yeah, I mean, Dulles wouldn't be that bad of a place. I know Virginia just passed an in-game betting law, So that's gonna like be intriguing for Dan Snyder.
Oh yeah.
Come November, Maryland's actually gonna vote on in-game betting, so that could be another potential landing spot. I think DC's already has in-game betting, so my number 1 spot would be RFK. My number 2 spot would be somewhere in Maryland, obviously in PG somewhere probably, and then number 3 would be out in VA. But I don't hate it, but I don't love it.
What about you, Reed?
Yeah, I think that they're going to end up probably looking somewhere in Virginia. I mean, that's what a lot of the reports are saying. Right now, they don't have any land, but it says that they're looking for a place that has easy access to the city. It really just, I mean, to me personally, after going to Redskins games forever, I haven't been to a Redskins game in the last like 3-4 years just because I refuse to go give them my money.
Smart man.
Go to that. I just hate going to FedEx Field. That's one of the worst stadiums in the league, and they're in great need of a new stadium, and they'll get it done. Snyder gets what he wants. He's going to do something. But, yeah, I would love it to be back in D.C., but I think it's more than likely going to be on the outskirts somewhere in Virginia, and it's all going to come down to the betting and the gambling.
I think the complete opposite. I think this is going to go to where Dan can be able to can convince the public to be able to fund the new stadium. Mm-hmm. And I think that I read this stat a couple of years. I think like 60 or 70% of the attendees at Redskins games now are Northern Virginians. So it would make a lot of sense for them to go towards the Dulles Airport area because that's where a lot of the money is coming from for the Redskins. So that would be the one fan base that would say, yes, we are willing to be able to pay that because we're already doing it.
But to that one point, though, all the VA lawmakers already said we're not giving you any money for it. It's all going to be your money. So
okay, I still think that's the avenue he's going to go down.
That could change. Obviously.
And then the other aspect of that is I cannot stand putting a stadium like FedEx in the middle of nowhere near Dulles Airport because the one thing for me is stigma, is this kind of aura about a stadium. RFK had that. When you're driving into D.C., you see RFK, you get the feelings, you see it, you want to be in there. It looks so cool. When you ride up to FedEx, it's just like, sticking out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, right.
It's right in the middle of the ghetto. Nobody cares. But I really like the aspect of them bringing it to RFK. I think it is smart for Dan to try to go to Northern Virginia because that's where all the money is. And given the fact that the public service people come out and said, hell no, I think his number 1 bet is going to be D.C. I know they're fighting him tooth and nail. And to be perfectly honest, Dan, let's just save everyone time, dude. Let's just sell it. And that way we can get a new stadium because I don't think it's the Redskins. I think it's Dan. I think that's what the biggest fight is about. It's not that they don't want the Redskins playing there. It's that they don't want Dan getting money down where they are.
Right. Well, if they put it back in the old RFK spot, they better make damn sure that they build up that area a little bit, that they gentrify it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? I know that they're already in the process of doing that, but that area going down there when the Nats were playing in RFK and shit was getting a little bit shitty. But this right here is saying that Virginia officials reportedly believe they're a better option than Maryland, but are unwilling to provide public subsidies to build the stadium. So that right there will probably eliminate them. But
yeah, and I'm right there with you. I do still think there's a chance. I know that they're saying no. Yeah. I still think there's a chance for Dan to be able to get it done because he does have deep pockets, and there probably is some sort of corruption going on there that could happen. But I
definitely love the idea of it being in D.C.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the general consensus. That's the best place to go because there's an aura about it. We all feel it going to RFK, and even when I was going to see Nats games at RFK, there was just something different about it.
Exactly.
And ever since the Nats did move down to D.C., they have really built up Southeast. Mm-hmm. They've gone and made a point to build up that area. So I don't think it's such a conspiracy theory anymore.
Yeah, and if you look at the plans that he has for like the whole stadium area, it's like a bunch of restaurants, a bunch of residential places, the retail places, the moat. So it's gonna be like a huge big thing.
The alligators.
I also heard that the spot that he wants,
the drawbridge,
has like a very, very, very easy access to the city.
Okay.
So that almost might push it over the edge.
The funny thing, I remember that moat. Remember they had guys on jet skis. Like, what, you're gonna have a bunch of brothers on jet skis down in D.C., Dan? You idiot! Who's bringing their jet ski? Let's go fishing, bro.
Who the hell owns a jet ski in D.C.?
Yeah, I know. Nobody.
Well, you could load that moat up with crocodiles and then have a drawbridge come down for teams to enter in. That would be a selling point. That would be fun.
Yeah, it would. All right, so the next thing I wanted to go into is news that came out today. Josh Norman signed a 1-year, $6 million deal with Buffalo. Reed, I'll go to you first after I talk about this, but I think this is a perfect fit for Norman. He doesn't have high expectations there on the opposite side of Tre'Davious White, so he is able to do whatever the hell he wants. Here in D.C., he didn't have that luxury. He had high expectations. I think that is the most perfect thing for him, and I'll quote my friend Nash as saying he'll quit at halftime in Week 6.
Yeah, obviously Norman's not the player that he was when he last played for Sean McDermott, but if anybody knows how to use him, it's him. They're betting on him. I mean, they didn't sign him to much money, only for a year, so they're just trying to get somebody in there who can play, who knows the system, and hey, good for Norman. He got a head start on the free agent market after being released, and he found a home. And I mean, let's be honest, Josh Norman is a shell of himself. So, fine. I'm excited to see him get burned a few times.
I completely agree. It's the best fit for him. Like you said, Sean McDermott, his old defensive coordinator. I think he's going to use him in that whole cover 2, cover 3 zone scheme again, which was going to benefit Norman greatly because he's never been a burner anyway, but he's definitely lost about 3 steps since then. And, I just think that, like you said, him being the number 2 cornerback, not having to follow people around the field all the time, him actually guarding the number 2 wide receivers, I think he's going to return to obviously not like Carolina, Josh Norman form, but he'll be somewhere between Redskins, first year Redskins, Josh Norman, and last year of Carolina when he was an All-Pro.
And honestly, if I was the Bills, I wouldn't even be entertaining the idea of Norman playing the number 2 corner spot a lot. I think the best thing for Norman right now, if they used him as a hybrid safety role, a free safety, because look, he has that kind of range. Look, his tackling isn't the best. He's good, but maybe at the line of scrimmage is where he's best tackling. But the best thing for him is to be able to roam. As soon as you put him on somebody and tell him he has to stick with them, that's where the problem is. So a kind of center field safety, I think, is the best bet for Norman, and that's a perfect scenario for Buffalo. They already have a good defense. They can slot a veteran in that's already familiar with the defense, and he can play anywhere.
I mean, he's going to be playing under Leslie Frazier, who's a hell of a defensive coordinator.
Right.
And he made his bones coming up as a defensive back coach.
Yeah.
So you already know he's going to put Josh Norman in the best position to succeed.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Now to close this out a little bit, guys. Here, Mike Reed actually has a little project that he did for you guys, and he's really excited to unveil it. So, Mike, why don't you talk about it a little bit?
No, hold on. Let me decline this call that just came in. Jesus.
You're so popular,
hold on.
Mike.
No, I'm not. Spam. I thought I put my phone on Do Disturb. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yesterday I did a little 4-round mock draft for each team. I'll post it a little bit later today. I'll post the screenshots of it and a little bit of some background info on it. But obviously, so I'll just go over some of the Redskins picks. Round 1, 2 overall, I mocked this Chase Young. I still think that with all this Tua stuff that's coming out, I think that if you really look at Ron Rivera's roots, Ron Rivera's he was a former defensive player. He was an All-American in college as a linebacker. He was part of that historic 85 Bears defense. He was a linebackers coach. He was a defensive coordinator. He inherited a good defense when he was in Carolina. When he was with the Bears, he brought them up to be a good defense. He brought the Chargers to be a good defense. I think that he knows that you build through defense, you make your strength stronger. I still think that we go Chase Young, number 2. And so this is a pre-free agency. This is assuming that Trent is gone. So with round 3, pick 66, the way that it fell, I had us drafting Ezra Cleveland, the left tackle out of Boise State. There's a chance he could go in the second round during the run on tackles after he blew up the combine. He's 6'6", 311. He ran a 4.93 40 with 30 reps at 225. He's a bit of a project player, but he's somebody who could definitely possibly come in and with the proper development could end up taking over one of those tackle spots, whether it's at left tackle or right tackle with a degrading Morgan Moses on that side down the road. And then round 4, pick number 98, I had us taking Thaddeus Moss. A lot of the tight end. Tight end is a huge position of need. That's right. Hall mentioned him last week. He was the best available tight end at that spot. I think that a lot of people are getting high on Thaddeus Moss because of who his dad is and because of the play that he had in the college football playoffs. But if you really look at his stats last year, considering he was getting the ball from a quarterback who had one of the, or arguably the best season of any quarterback in college football history, his numbers weren't exactly eye-popping. He's a little bit undersized at 6'3". He's 250, but you can use him kind of as a Jordan Reed, where he's not going to do much in the blocking game, but he's going to do fantastic in the receiving game. But a lot of people overrate him because of his dad. But he transferred from NC State. He didn't get much playing time at NC State. He only really got playing time at LSU last year. And that's why he's a bigger name than he is. But he didn't work out at the Combine. I'm excited to see what he does at his pro day, what he measures out. And I think that he could end up being a very good pick right there in round 4 at value, and he's somebody who could come in and contribute right away, especially on third downs.
Yeah, no, I think the best pro comp that I can think of in my head, I think Jordan Reed is a good one, but is Evan Ingram. Yeah. A guy that isn't that great of a blocker, but is an athletic specimen, can get down the field and catches the football. The only problem, I know that Hull and I have talked about it before, the only problem is when Thaddeus Moss was in the game at LSU, you knew it was a pass play. He was not in there for run blocking, and that's the one issue for me because all of these tight ends that have been linked to the Redskins, not one is a good blocking tight end. And that's what the Redskins need.
Right. I was tempted in round 3 to go with Adam Troutman, that tight end from Dayton that I was talking about. He's a very good. He's a very good blocking tight end. I just thought that Ezra Cleveland I had as a second-round pick, and he was there in the third round, at the beginning of the third round. I just thought that left tackle was an important position, one of need. And again, this is pre-free agency. This is before we know where any of the dominoes are going to fall. So who knows what would happen. But yeah, you're right. We definitely need a blocking tight end. And I think that's where somebody like Adam Troutman comes in. But yes, Thaddeus Moss was far and away the best tight end on the board at that point. So I was just like, you know what? Let's go ahead and get us Thaddeus Moss.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Troutman. I know that he was being linked to the second round, though. So it was almost being like the Redskins were going to miss out on him with all the tight end needy teams in the NFL right now. But Troutman, I would absolutely love. I looked him up. His stats are phenomenal. I think he was like 6'5", 257. I think I saw. Big kid, and he can catch the football, and he was pivotal for his team, but not last year. I think he could be one of those in the rough guys. I love that. I love that input from you, Mike. Again, guys, Mike Reed has a 4-round mock draft for every team. You guys can go and watch it and look at it. Comment what you guys think. He's going to upload it to the page. Let us know what you think. If you have your own mock draft, please upload it. I love theories. I love hypotheticals. I love talking Redskins and just football in general.
Hell yeah.
I do want to say what's up to you, Prince? Never met you before, brother. Thanks for tuning in, dude. I really appreciate you.
Appreciate that. Share the page.
All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the Burgundy Zone. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hull.
I'm Black Mike.
And thank you for tuning in. We'll see you guys. And we're actually going to be changing our day. We're going to be doing Thursdays from now on. Mike, this Thursday, are we good to go?
Yes.
Awesome. This Thursday, we'll have a new show for you. Look, I understand we just did one today. How much could come about in 3 days? You never know, but we're going to be doing every Thursday from here on out. So mark your calendars, get your stuff ready, and hit that share button, baby. Woo! Remember, guys, Redskins football. Woo! Woo! Good job, Mike.
And we're off. Are we?
Yeah.
I didn't have it. Okay, cool. Now I got to share it. Sick.